Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to yet another exciting installment of Daily Pali Reading. Today's passage, Sasato lokotiva, asasato lokotiva, antava lokotiva, anantava lokotiva, tang jivang, tang sarirantiva, anyang jivang, anyang sarirantiva, hoti tatagato parang maranativa, nahoti tatagato parang maranativa, hoti cha na cha hoti tatagato parang maranativa. Neva hoti na hoti tatagato parang maranativati. So recall that previously Vacchagotta asked the Buddha why so many speculative views, ditti gatani, arise in the world. And now Vacchagotta is kind of enumerating the sorts of speculative views he has in mind. So we can roughly translate this as the world is eternal, or the world is not eternal. The world has a boundary, or the world does not have a boundary. The soul is the body. The soul is one thing and the body is another. The Tathagata exists after death. The Tathagata does not exist after death. The Tathagata both exists and does not exist after death. Or the Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist after death. So this is kind of a long passage. It's actually not so difficult, but there's a couple of things that make it at first sight seem somewhat tricky. One of the first things that will jump out at us is that there are a lot of T's and a lot of Va's. And these are kind of tricky because if you're unaware of the word, it could this T could make the word appear to be something else. So keep in mind that T is the way Pali marks direct speech. So if we go all the way to the end of this T is marking the whole entire thing as direct speech. This entire thing is a question. Now, in this question, we have several other T's that come up. Sasato loko T, for example. So T, in addition to marking direct speech, also can mark off an idea or concept. You can see this in Warder, I think, chapter 6. And for example, so keep that in mind. The first T here, it is not some sort of, in other words, lokoti is not some sort of strange case ending. The T here is not some kind of strange case ending. It's simply loko T. In this case, sasato loko T. The concept that the world is eternal. Now, also, I think in English, we could get away with saying the eternal world, kind of like saying the many worlds hypothesis of quantum mechanics. It's possible just to kind of capture this as the eternal world understood hypothesis or speculative view. So that is sasato. The other, before we go on, the other particle that comes up quite a bit is va. So va means or, and it's just a way of enumerating these various views. It's almost like bullet pointing them. So keep the va in mind because it's going to appear in another word in a minute when it's not this particle. It's actually part of a word. So, okay, so we have sasato, meaning eternal, the eternal world. the world is eternal. Then we have asasato, and we talked about this before, the alpha privative, at least in Greek, that is the name given to this. So this is just negating the meaning of the adjective here. So the first two, the eternal world or the non-eternal world. Then we have antava lokoti, va. Now you might think these vas are the same, but they aren't. This antava comes from antavant, meaning having an end. Whenever we see the V-A-N-T, that means kind of like having, possessing this quality. So anta came up before, just an end, some kind of a boundary maybe in this case of the world. And then in this next one, anantava lokotiva. So the world is bounded or the world is not bounded. We could say the world is finite or the world is infinite. So we have those viewpoints there, those speculative views. The next one, tang jivang, tang sariranti va. Now here's an example where the T can cause confusion, because if you don't know the word sari or sarirang, it's possible to look at this word sariranti and think, well, that's a third person plural present active indicative verb. I mean, that is your standard ending. But you have to keep in mind that in this case, or I suppose what we should say is we always have to be nimble. We don't want to be rigid in our approach. So it's possible that it could be that. But in this case, we don't have any sort of plural subject anywhere. So we can keep in mind that T, and we've seen a lot of T's before, so the T is possibly just marking off this concept. And keep in mind, sarirang plus T is going to change to sariranti. That the is going to change into the nasal of the dental line, if you think about the way the Sanskrit and Pali alphabets are arranged. So we have here tang jivang tang sariranti. Jivang is soul, and we could say maybe this soul is this body, or maybe just the soul is the body. The soul is the same thing as the body. Or the contrasting view, anyang jivang, anyang sarirantiva. The soul is one thing, the body is another thing. Then we continue with questions about the Tathagata. That is, the completely enlightened, the Arahant, the Buddha. What is the Tathagata's state after death? So the viewpoints that are connected with this are Hoti Tathagato Parang Maranati Va. Hoti, the third person singular present active indicative of bu, of the verb to be, in this form, the Hoti form. So our subject, the Tathagato, the Tathagata is Parang Marana. Now, parang is basically a preposition, and it takes the ablative. Parang means after, and after death. So literally, there is the Tathagata after death, or the Tathagata exists after death. Contrasting view, the Tathagata does not exist after death, just the same statement but negated with na. Then, and this is where we get into this seems particularly Buddha to me. Hoti cha na cha hoti Tathagata parang maranativa. The Tathagata is and is not after death, or the Tathagata both exists and does not exist after death. Keeping in mind we have cha, our and, but unlike in English, the and comes after, it's an enclitic, and it comes after the word it's connected with. That's why we have hoti cha, na cha. So we wouldn't have to say both and, but in this case, I think that works. If you are familiar with Latin, they have the ending que which is an exact parallel of this. And then again, very Buddha, the last speculative view, neva hoti na hoti tathagato parang maranativa. Neither. Now our pattern is not a cha ... cha, but neva ... na. So this one you could, I suppose mathematicians might put brackets around these. We just want to notice that it's neva hoti, neither does, or we could say maybe in English a better way is to say the Tathagata neither exists, neva hoti, nor na, that's the first na hoti, does not exist, padam maranativa. We will also see parang as an adjective, like parang lokang, the other world. Should also state that, we should also mention that marana, that is really connected with, speaking of Latin again, like mors, found in words like mortician, mortal, immortal, so on and so forth. So that really wraps up our passage for today. And stay tuned, because next time we will get the Buddha's response to Vacchagotta's question. Peace, everyone.